I rise today in support of the Coastal and Ocean Acidification, Stressors and Threats, or Coast Research Act, my bipartisan bill to help coastal communities adapt to the climate crisis by expanding scientific research, monitoring, and adaptation of ocean and coastal acidification. I want to thank all of the staff on both sides of the aisle from the committee and my personal staff, especially Maxine Sugarman, for all their work on this bill. Every person on this planet benefits from a healthy ocean. The ocean covers more than 70% of the planet's surface. It supplies much of the oxygen that we breathe and regulates our climate. It's linked to the water we drink, and it's home to more than half of all life on the planet. The power of its waves generates clean energy. The ocean drives our economy, feeds, employs, and transports us. But despite our intrinsic connection, for too long, the ocean has taken the heat for us. According to the 4th National Climate Assessment, atmospheric carbon dioxide concentrations are now higher than in any time in the last 3 million years. Approximately 1/3 of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere dissolves into our oceans and estuaries, causing them to become more acidic. Ocean and coastal acidification make it difficult for shellfish, coral, and other marine organisms to build their shells and skeletal structures. Some finfish, including endangered salmon in the Pacific Northwest, lose their sense of smell necessary for identifying prey, reproducing, and navigating their habitats. Our understanding of the long-term consequences of ocean acidification is still limited, but we do know that the changes in ocean chemistry are already affecting the fishers and shellfish farmers who depend on the ocean's resources to support themselves and their families, and the tribes that have treaty rights and deep cultural and historical connections to diminishing species. The most effective strategy for mitigating ocean acidification is reducing anthropogenic sources of carbon dioxide pollution worldwide. I have joined with colleagues on the Select Committee on the Climate Crisis in releasing a bold, comprehensive, science-based climate action plan to reach net zero emissions no later than mid-century and net negative thereafter. But there are also actions that we can take immediately to improve conditions, lessen exposure to ocean acidification, and manage local pollution and conditions that can exacerbate acidification. This bill, which I introduced with my fellow co-chair of the House Oceans Caucus, Representative Young from Alaska, and with Representatives Pingree and Posey, would improve scientific research on ocean and coastal acidification in the context of other environmental stressors, and direct federal agencies to assess adaptation and mitigation strategies. Funding has lagged behind the needs of the scientific community for years. This bill would provide a modest but important increase for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the National Science Foundation to scale up research efforts. Importantly, the bill also expands the definition of ocean acidification to include estuaries and to recognize mechanisms that can cause changes in coastal chemistry. NOAA is already leading interdisciplinary efforts to expand our understanding of changing ocean conditions in its role as chair of the Interagency Working Group on Ocean Acidification. In fact, this year marks the 10th anniversary of the NOAA Ocean Acidification Program, and I hope my colleagues will join me in applauding their work to truly advance regionally coordinated scientific research. A September 2015 Government Accountability Office report suggested that an independent national ocean acidification program could advance our understanding of changing ocean conditions. The Coast Research Act designates NOAA as the lead federal agency responsible for implementing the federal response to ocean and coastal acidification, further empowering the Ocean Acidification Program to scale up its efforts with its first reauthorization in more than a decade. Additionally, the Coast Research Act increases our understanding of the socioeconomic effects of ocean and coastal acidification, and importantly, it engages stakeholders. The bill creates an advisory board of representatives of the shellfish and crab industry, finfish industry, seafood processors, recreational fishing, academia, non-governmental organizations, state, local, and tribal governments, and regional coastal acidification networks. The regionally balanced board will advise NOAA and the Interagency Working Group on coastal and ocean acidification research and monitoring activities. This collaborative process will make sure that vulnerable and affected communities, industries, and coastal and ocean managers have the tools they need to adapt and mitigate the effects of coastal and ocean acidification. For example, at Oregon State University, Dr. Burke Hales developed the Percolator. It's a device the size of a piece of carry-on luggage that can analyze when shellfish growers across the Pacific Northwest should grow larvae based on the ocean acidification and the effects on calcium carbonates needed for shell formation. Other research at Oregon State has demonstrated how growing particular seagrasses and kelps can help counteract ocean acidification. These examples demonstrate what is possible when we invest in science and research to help coastal communities adapt to the climate crisis. The Coast Research Act directs NOAA to maintain a system to process, store, archive, and provide access to data on ocean and coastal acidification from federally funded research, including existing global or national data sets and research from state and local agencies, tribes, scientists, citizen scientists, and industry organizations. These efforts will help provide for the long-term stewardship and standardization of ocean acidification data and better help communities adapt and mitigate the worst effects. Madam Speaker, the health of our ocean reflects the health of our planet. Today we have the opportunity to help it become more resilient by passing the Bipartisan Coast Research Act. I thank Chairwoman Johnson and Ranking Member Lucas and my co-sponsors for their leadership, and I urge my colleagues to support the bill. I do request unanimous consent to enter letters into the record from Earth Justice, Ocean Conservancy, the Wild Salmon Center, the Pacific Coast Shellfish Growers Association, the Integrated Ocean Observing System Association, the Surfrider Foundation, the Oregon Coordinating Council on Ocean Acidification and Hypoxia, the Consortium for Ocean Leadership, Oregon State University, the Northwest Association of Networked Ocean Observing Systems, and the Pacific States Marine Fisheries Commission in support of the Coast Research Act, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Without objection.